Hey guys, welcome back to episode 4 of The Dive. Today's episode we're going to be covering Konsta Helenius. Helenius is a Finnish center playing top 6 minutes in Finland's top pro league, Liiga. He's expected to be drafted in this year's draft and will likely go in the very early picks of this year. He plays for Jukurit, where he put up 14 goals, 22 assists for 36 points in 51 games. This puts him at 0.7 points per game played, a feat that only 5 players have done since 1990, which include Olli Jokinen, Mikkel Granlund, Alexander Barkov, and Kaapo Kakko. This certainly puts him in good company, but where he eventually turns out is a legitimate question. The name of Helenius' game is the details. He is a highly intelligent player, and his offensive and defensive hockey IQ is off the charts, and he very well may be the smartest player in this draft, and if he isn't, he's probably second to Macklin Celebrini. His passing is very good, and this is what shines the most because of his intelligence. He's not super flashy like some other prospects, but he makes a lot of quick passes and has a wide arsenal of different passes he can do to make it the most selfless play on the ice and put his teammates in a much better position on the ice. He is patient enough though to hold on to it when he needs to and keep the puck and not just dish it out because he's scared to have it. He's an extremely tactical player. He just wants to help his team and get his teammates the goals rather than himself. And make no mistake, he will find his man and he will see the play unfolding on the ice in front of him, likely before anyone else on the ice will. And he can use his wide variety of different passes and tactics to make that play happen and get the puck in the back of the net. As a shooter, Helenius is actually pretty average. He's never going to knock your socks off with a crazy shot, but he leverages his intelligence to get in dangerous areas and anticipate where the puck will be to get it in that back of the net. But he's going to be the type of player that could very well score 20 goals in the NHL. But likely the same player where at the end of the season you think to yourself, that guy scored 20, and you would struggle to remember any one goal he scored. But his puck handling is also actually fairly average, another one of his somewhat lackluster parts of his toolkit. Though I will say, his puck handling isn't actually limited by his mechanical skills, but actually his confidence to try and execute those dekes. Ideally, at the NHL level, he gets more practice doing these and the confidence build, and you start seeing him making more dynamic plays than what he has so far. Physically, this is his weakest toolkit. He is somewhat lackluster, but at 5'11", 190 pounds, Helenius certainly has room to improve. But in truth, he doesn't need the physical tools to be effective at the NHL level. He actually showed this year that he could be extremely effective in all 3 zones, even as a rookie in a difficult pro league. Nearly every decision he makes in any of those zones is the right one, and he is the perfect complementary piece to many players on the ice. So realistically, I think Helenius is actually a near surefire second-line center, and I'd be truly shocked if he turned out to be anything less. I do believe, though, that he has the path to becoming a top-line center with the right line mates. Some people believe that he may be a top-line winger if he's going to play on the first line at all, but I actually think that the Flyers might be a near-perfect fit for him because of the players he would play with. Yes, 𝐏𝐿 is nearly undeniably the better prospect, but Helenius' game is actually perfectly catered to play center to Michkov on his wing. Michkov is a known puck-dominant player. He skates around the zone, creating chances for him and his teammates, but his best work is done with the puck on his stick, and we've seen this time and time again in his time with Sochi, and we will begin to see it soon in the NHL with the Flyers. So, if you had a player like 𝐏𝐿 playing on the same line with him, another puck-dominant player, you'd see a lot less of Michkov's dominance because he just wouldn't get the puck enough. But Helenius is actually the perfect fit for this, because Helenius doesn't like to have the puck on his stick for very long. He's excellent at getting the puck to his teammates and setting them up for success. Not to mention this, but Michkov is actually one of the most creative and dynamic offensive creators we've ever seen in a prospect. So do I want a more raw, physical center, like say Caden Lindstrom, trying to figure out what Michkov, the supercomputer, is trying to do next? No. I want another supercomputer in Konsta Helenius, because odds are he already sees the play that Michkov is trying to pull off before it's happened, and may be the only other player on the ice knowing what Michkov is about to do. And as a result, Helenius will be in the exact right position to get the puck to Michkov when he needs it most, or put the puck in the back of the net after Michkov drags the entire team's defense into him. That's not even considering Helenius' defensive prowess, which also would be a perfect fit for Michkov, considering the defensive shortcomings that Michkov may or may not have. So defensively, Helenius doesn't excel through board battles or retrievals like we've seen Tyson Foerster on the Flyers do this year. His success actually comes from anticipating the plays unfolding in front of him. He's excellent at blocking passes in lanes with his stick, and sometimes will even invite a pass knowing that he will be able to block it, rather than just blocking the lane from the beginning, which would obviously result in the opposing player making another play entirely. So the real question is, where does Helenius fall in the draft? Truthfully, it seems fairly likely that he goes in the 8 to 14 range. I'd be really shocked if he went any earlier, and I'd also be really shocked if he went any later. Most rankings have him in that 10 to 12 range, and I think that's a pretty fair one. In a sense, he's kind of a safe pick. There's very little risk to selecting him, especially if you expect him to be a second-line center. Once again, I'd be shocked if he didn't become a second-line center. His toolkit's just already so impressive, he thinks the game on such a good level, and he's already shown that he can play very well in a top pro league. So the transition to the NHL really wouldn't be much of a difficult one. I wouldn't be shocked if he did one more year in Liiga or 1 year in the AHL, and then we saw him in the NHL immediately after. And honestly, I think he can make a case for the NHL immediately as a third-line center or a third-line winger as he learns the NHL game. But I think in the Flyers' case, his style of play would be perfectly catered to be a Michkov center. I think if he falls to 12, I think there's a very good chance the Flyers take him. And under the right development, I actually trust that his intelligence will be enough to allow him to excel at the highest level and maybe even be the Flyers' next defensive first-line center. So if he's available on draft day, I certainly won't be disappointed if he's taken. It would take 1 or 2 prospects to still be available for me to be unhappy with that pick. And those names are probably Celebrini and Demidov. So if you see Helenius' name drafted on draft day, he's one to be happy about.